Good evening, everyone, or morning or afternoon, wherever you are. As usual, we're a little early. Rafi is coming on in a few minutes. He's probably coming on in about 10 minutes. I set up the live stream for 9 o'clock, but I always come on a little early. Nice to see there's a lot of you waiting, which is nice. Dimitri, thank you for your super chat. We'll wait until Rafi comes on, see what he thinks about your question, and I'll also opine on your question. He's asking, please enlighten me as to how reverse repo crisis can cause a liquidity crunch. I'm still settling to understand. Thank you for your work. So let's see who's here. DD Prepper and Tim is here. Ben Perez from Southern California. Mark 68 is here. Music Lover Forever. Indie Spot 2024. Rainbow. Elias Jones. Hi, Elias. Yeah, I agree with you. Anything under 10% Fed funds is dovish. Crypto Chris Card in the house. Hi, Crypto Chris Card. Niels Han Dynasty, buy silver and platinum. Don't disagree with him. John Bethia. Hi, John. Gordon Hamilton. Good evening, Gordon. Catfish Customs. Silver Wolf. Gold still on sale. 2 years ago, I bought an ounce of gold buffalo. Today, it's $20 cheaper. Here in the UK, actually, gold prices have done quite well because our currency is very weak. I would say that the dollar will be the last currency really to melt down. That's the way the system has been set up. Brady Girding, hi Brady. Better earlier than late, yeah. Catfish Customs, David Lanham. Says I can't be hanging around the internet all day. Okay, that's his prerogative. Lord Humongous is here on the road to California. Pabar, nice to see you too, Pabar. Alex Flores, hi Mary and Billy, nice to catch you on a Sunday. Yeah, we do this every Sunday. Sometimes we don't, if there are exceptions, but I try to do every Sunday. Pudenda Johnson, hi. Haven't seen you in a while. Meredith 2006 is here. Graham Hobbs is here. Meredith 2006, what do you think of transmission protection instrument, TPI? It's just another code, another euphemism for more QE for the periphery. That's all it is, more money printing by the ECB. I'm well, Anonymous, thank you. Hope you're doing well too. Silver Beast, hi Silver Beast. Dylan Roberts. There's quite a few of you, I think, here this evening. Pablo Pina's here. There's only one way. Thank you for your super chat. Boomers and Ukraine supporters have destroyed the UK economy. Well, I'm not sure boomers have destroyed it, but the system has been destroying it for, I would say, since World War I, with when the UK left the gold standard. They tried to get back some years later, but it failed. And it's been downhill ever since. A little bit like Argentina. It hasn't been as fast as Argentina, though. Sue and Sam. Hi, Sue and Sam. Steve Fleming. Hi, bro. You stocked up on food. Quite a few of you. Gianfranco Bergagna. Good evening, everyone. Christine Masso. Stevie Mondo. Anthony Shepard. Wow. Great to see everyone. So the topic today is money supply growth and how it could. There's a high probability we could have a market and economic event. And Rafi is a good guy to talk about this because he's the only one who's been looking at this for the last 6 weeks, I would say, maybe 2 months. It's the M2 money supply growth quarterly rate, and it's gone negative, which is not a good thing. And we're going to wait until Rafi comes on. Little Dipper 923, how much spending do you think the US government will do to increase the GDP next quarter? I'm not sure, but they're still running a pretty big budget deficit, about 6 or 7%. So yeah, they're gonna keep pumping the system. And it's H. I read that half of the dollars have been printed in the last 2 years. Yeah, M2 really was, the creation of M2 after March 2020 was huge, but the rate of growth of M2 is actually gone negative. We're going to talk about that with Rafi and what that means. Spiked head die crack. Did you see the Zimbabwe gold coin? Yeah, I saw it. It looks quite nice. It's 22 karat. Maybe see if we can get one. That would be good. Lord Humongous says homeless crisis ravaging California couldn't be the monetary. Yeah, it is. Lord Humongous. Pablo Pat is here. Says I still watch every day. I haven't seen you in the live stream in a while. Pat, nice to see you back. Philippe Julien, Spock 2024. Over here, Mario, I wonder how history would have played out if there was no Treaty of Versailles and the Marshall Plan in Europe after World War I. Well, I often wonder if there was no World War I think things would be a lot different. I don't think wars create anything good for the general public at all. It's all wars are created by the bankers, and I'm gonna look at a quote from a passage of The World Order by Eustace Mullins, where he talks about that actually, and I think it's a little bit worrying, especially with what's going on with China and Taiwan right now. And Nancy. Yeah, Tim Gibson, doctor watching Biden. Yeah, I saw he's tested again for that thing. What I think is happening, they want to keep that game going, the tests, so that they have an excuse for the midterms to have mail-in ballots. They have to keep the crisis going. That's my take on it. Jonathan Marsh, Mario, slow and steady stacking wins the race. I agree. Chris Jones says, hello, Mario. Hello, Billy Bullion. Oh, Rafi's here. Let's admit him. Rafi's a bit earlier, which is good. Hi, Rafi.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
And thanks again for accepting my invitation. So
anytime.
I think people, my viewers really enjoy having you on. And
good.
Yeah. And I have to say to the viewers, I really recommend Rafi's newsletter. Aside from his YouTube channel, I think his newsletter is really a must. And it's only about $20 a month, Rafi.
Something like that. Yeah.
Like that. I mean, here's an example of it. The End Game Investor. I was just reading it this afternoon, and we're going to go over some of that. And the title of the live stream today, Rafi, and I took the title is to do with what you've been talking about, M2 money supply growth, quarterly growth. how it's turned negative. Maybe you could tell the viewers about this statistic and how you started looking at it and what it means for what's going on right now in the financial markets and the economy.
Okay. Well, it's actually kind of a personal story, because I've had many mentors in economics since I was am I red pilled or blue pilled? Which one is it? Whatever color is the good one. I forget exactly which color it is. I don't follow these.
Well, let's say the good pill then.
Okay, the good. I'm good pilled. Whenever I got good pilled. That was Ron Paul, and then I started branching out into the Misesian angles of libertarianism, and eventually I found this guy named Robert Wenzel, who many people have probably seen a lot of his blogs. He had two main blogs, economicpolicyjournal.com, and then he forked it off into Target Liberty for I guess the libertarian stuff and Economic Policy Journal for the monetary economic stuff. So he's I'm actually interviewing his former assistant, Chris Rossini, who's the co-host of the Ron Paul Liberty Report. I'm interviewing him tomorrow, and I'll put the interview on my channel. But anyway, Chris Rossini worked for Robert Wenzel before he worked for Ron Paul, and Robert Wenzel's way of measuring the money supply, and not that it's a magical thing or anything, or there's anything uniquely special about his way of counting, but what he believed was that since the money supply always wobbles from week to week, if you take the 13-week average and then you compare it to the 13-week average 13 weeks previous, and then you annualize that change, then you would get a number that is a very broad. It takes out the noise. It's like you don't want to measure all of the UK's coastline to see how long it is, but you'll do a general line to see how how long it is, that kind of thing. So and he noticed that this number, if you take the 13-week average and over 13 weeks, it very, very rarely goes negative. And when it goes negative, usually within a few weeks from that occurrence, there is a major crash. It doesn't have to be a few weeks, could be a few months, but it's like, shortly after, in a way that you could manage it with options timing if you know how to do that. So that's the chart that I was able to make myself with Bob's numbers. And ever since I think March or April 2020, the Fed stopped publishing these on the H6 report, but they still have it on. They still have the data available on the Fred page of the M2, the weekly M2 statistics. It's like hidden away if you know how to get it. So if you look at that number, that at the end there, where it dips below the zero line, that's the first time it's really happened since 2008. That's 2009. That was like the really the forced deflation when we were already in like in a recession. So that kind of brings the money supply down with it. But there, where your finger pointer is there, that's the last time it really happened, when all the asset prices were still inflated, right? In 2009, it went below zero, but everything was already deflated by then, so it didn't really matter. Then you see it kind of happen, almost go to zero in around 2015, right? That was August 2015. That was the big August 24th, 2015 market crash. I think the NASDAQ went down something like 1,000 or 1,100.
Yeah, it was a flash crash. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really scary. And there was a devaluation of the yuan back then. So it's happening now again, and it means that asset prices are going to head way down. I believe sometime between now and October. You can't really time it exactly, because sometimes there's extra money that has to get sucked in first, and that appears to be what's happening now. But in my opinion, unless these numbers are just totally off and totally fake, then there's got to be some serious negative activity in equities very shortly, and it's not going to affect consumer prices either. Those are going to keep going up.
Rafi, someone asked a question a bit earlier before I even went online, and he asked a question about not M2, but the reverse repo, the fact that it's going through the roof, and whether you have an idea what kind of crisis that could lead to. I mean, it's quite, the reverse repo is such an arcane and something that really hasn't been happened before in history. To me, it seems that what it means is that the banks have too much cash, and because of regulatory reasons, that I think it was last year in March, they dropped the they put back these regulations that they had dropped during COVID. And so what they're doing there is that there's so much cash still in the banks that they have to lend it to the Fed every day, and that's why the reverse repo is going up so much. What's your take on the reverse repo?
I've tried to flip this around in my head so many times, and I've come up with something that makes sense in my head, and it would make sense if I'm right. But I think I'm right. But again, like there are nobody really understands exactly what's going on here because none of this has ever happened before. And Murray Rothbard writes in the Mystery of Banking, like even the bankers don't quite understand all the mechanisms that are going on, where they're lending money, where it's coming from. It's just way too complicated given the amount of actors involved here and the way the system works for anyone to fully understand what's going on. It's sort of like chaos theory or the butterfly effect, something like that. But just try to forget all the sophisticated nuances and just think about it just a little bit rationally for a second. So the banks have all this cash, and if it's in depositors' accounts, then they've got to pay interest on that. So it costs them money. It costs them money to have deposit accounts because they have to administer it. You have to hire people to manage these things. There's all these costs associated with having deposits in your account, or loaning out money, or having it on your balance sheet. Whether it's in personnel costs or interest costs, there's always some kind of cost. So you could try to loan it out at higher interest, but then that gives you the risk of what if the guy defaults on the loan? So you don't want to take that risk because that risk has to be managed by some other bank worker you're gonna have to pay him a salary. All this costs money. So the easiest thing to do is just give it back to the Fed for an assured interest, because they're the ones who print the money in the first place. So they can just give it to you and just keep flipping it back to them because you don't know what to do with all this stuff. It costs too much to manage, and the interest rates are not high enough for it to be worth it to loan it out. So as far as I can see, until interest rates really rise substantially above the consumer inflation rate, there's nothing that they could do with this money but loan it right back.
Yeah, it shows, and I've said that in the past. It shows that they're not confident in lending to the real economy, so they lend it to the Fed. The Fed can't technically go, well, they could go bankrupt, but like you said, they print the money. Just wanted to show you and the viewers something I just saw this afternoon on Twitter. And this has got to do maybe with your money supply growth. And I never heard of this guy, Macro Alf. He's got a lot of followers, 210,000, former head of 20 billion portfolio. And this is quite interesting what he's saying here. The global credit impulse is one of my preferred macro metrics. It measures the rate of change of money creation in the non-financial private sector. The metric is a good leading indicator of future economic activity, and it just printed below GFC levels. So I thought this was interesting. I don't know if you've seen this, and it kind of corresponds to your worries about the negative M2.
Yeah. Look, these are all related. If credit is slowing down in the financial sector, it's also slowing down in the non-financial sector. So all these numbers are going to reflect each other in one way or another. The question is, what series of indicators, or do you have a favorite one? And we all try to find the exact indicator that will give us the most accurate results, but then it becomes like whack-a-mole, because once too many people look at one specific thing, then the market kind of runs away into something else, and it's hard to, it's impossible to pinpoint everything exactly. But yeah, you look at things and you try to make rational decisions based on what actually makes sense, and hopefully you make the right decision, and you have the patience and the time scale to see it out. That's all you can say.
You've of course probably seen the news that Pelosi is going to Asia. I was reading that she's flying to South Korea, Singapore, Japan, and Malaysia, but they haven't confirmed whether they're going to Taiwan. Do you think that if she goes to Taiwan, it could trigger a huge crisis like we've seen with the West and Russia and Ukraine? And could that be an excuse for the central bankers just to pivot and print like mad? Even in China, you wrote today about the situation there, the real estate situation, the fact that the Chinese central bank balance sheet hasn't increased that much. Maybe they're going to use this as an excuse. What's you think that's too conspiratorial, but or possible?
Maybe. Um, I don't know how crazy Nancy Pelosi is, or how confident she is, or how blustery she thinks that America is still all powerful. I don't understand her mind. It's kind of diseased from what I can see. So I don't really know what she's going to do. But if I were China, then I would say, look, they have Biden in office and Kamala Harris, who seems not all there. Both these people seem really not all there mentally. And some Republican is probably going to get elected in the next 2 years. So if you're going to respond to an American provocation, whether it's landing in Taiwan, Nancy Pelosi, I mean,
Yeah.
then I guess now would be the time to do it, because you don't want to do it with Trump in office, and you don't want to do it with DeSantis in office if he's there. It's just, why not do it now if you're going to do something? So yeah, I think China would respond in some way. And I think if they're smart, they would do it financially rather than with bombs, because bombs can be easily responded to, whereas finances can't really. If they sell a bunch of bonds, that would be much more damaging than trying to shoot down a plane or something stupid like that.
They could, yeah, they could, if they try to sell our treasuries, though, the US could freeze those treasuries. So I guess the next financial tool would be for them to come out and say, we've got so much gold, and China, we're going to go on a gold standard or something with Russia, who knows? But the thing about Pelosi, she was supposed to have gone in March, I think, or April, but she got, that beer disease, and she didn't go. And actually, the Republicans in the Senate and in Congress are challenging her as well, saying you need to go to Taiwan. So it's not just Pelosi. It seems like the whole establishment is pushing for this crisis. And I was telling the viewers before you came on about this book. It's about, the world order, our secret rulers, by Eustace Mullins. And on page, let's see what page 7, he says, and this is about, the international bankers, the way they operate. He says the first precept of success in making government loans lies in creating a demand. That is, by taking part in the creation of financial panics, depressions, famines, wars, and revolutions. The overwhelming success of the Rothschilds lay in their willingness to do what had to be done. So basically, they're saying, not just the Rothschilds, but a lot of the bankers, they like these crises, because like we saw in March 2020, we had like that disease, and it led to huge, unprecedented printing of money. So I would say it wouldn't be out of the realms of possibility that we get a major geopolitical crisis, and that would give the Fed, the cover.
Yeah, it's going to happen. There's going to be something that triggers it. Like there's only one direction for all this to go, and whatever country you look at, there's all parabolas everywhere. So they're going to look for an excuse, and they'll manufacture one to keep on the parabola, because otherwise, all the debt that's been stocked up since 1971 or 1933, or exactly how long, I don't know, but it's all going to have to be liquidated. And it's either all going to be liquidated in a mass deflation where, the entire banking system collapses, or it's going to be liquidated in a mass hyperinflation where the entire banking system collapses. It's the same thing. It's a mirror image.
Yeah. You've spoken about or written about how countries, let's say like Argentina, Brazil, or Venezuela, countries that have had hyperinflation in the last 40 years, how they can get back on track because they can back their currency to the dollar. But can you tell the viewers how significant it is if the dollar were to hyperinflate?
Well, this is along the lines of what I wrote. If I can plug it into what I wrote on the Endgame Investor this today on how a reset would have to work, a real reset that's logically possible. And we saw it back in 1933. What did FDR do in 1933? He wanted to make a giant pyramid. So he understood that gold was money, and it still is. And so he took it all. And then on that base, he built the rest of the pyramid. And now the base, the just above the gold base is the dollar, because that's the substitute that was backed by gold in 1933, 1934 when FDR took it all. So he backed the dollar with gold back then, and it's still backed by gold in the way that you can still exchange it for some amount of physical. There's still an exchange rate that is a real exchange rate that you can get physical with. So basically everyone is pyramided on top of the dollar. And then when a country like Argentina or Turkey or whatever, when they try to pyramid too fast within the dollar pyramid in which they still exist, then their little pyramid falls off. But they can rebuild it by promising to play by the rules this time and saying, okay, we'll just print along the same speed as the dollar, and we won't break the rules again. So they can restart their economy based on dollar prices. But if the dollar itself hyperinflates, that means the entire pyramid that everyone finds themselves in and builds themselves off of is itself going to collapse. So they're either going to have to go back to gold itself, or the populace is going to have to go back to gold individually. It's going to have to be one of the two.
Yeah.
So that's the only answer.
Yeah. Lord Humongous is saying what dollar? Lord Humongous, he sticks to the true definition of the dollar. I guess you could say it's the paper dollar. Echo has a question. Would be interesting to ask Rafi if he has a theory about why negative M2 growth leads to a crash and whether other money supply measures matter too.
Well, all the other money supply measures, basically, they all go in the same direction. It's not like one will go up and the other will go down. They'll all go up and down in varying degrees. So why M2 and not a different one? I don't know. It's just a heuristic, because M2 is savings accounts and demand deposits and a little bit of time deposits. So the time deposits are really insignificant. And I forgot what the difference is between true money supply and M2. It's not that big of a difference, really.
Yeah.
But just conceptually, when the money supply stops shrinking, that means that because a lot of the stock prices are built on margin, and when the money supply shrinks, somebody in that pyramid of debt is not going to be able to pay back, and he's going to get a margin call, and then he's going to have forced sales, and it's going to knock out the next guy in the line, and then there's going to be a domino whenever the money supply shrinks, because that's how dominoes work. When one falls, the next one falls behind it.
Mr. One MOA says spent $241 in groceries this afternoon, and wow, I didn't see too many people shopping either. Something is in the air. People are on edge. Yeah, I've read quite a bit about the Weimar hyperinflation, and one of the things that really is noticeable in the beginnings of a hyperinflation is that food prices go up a lot. And we went out Friday evening with a couple of friends for a drink. They had I think where we live, they're doing the local council is doing a Friday evening, outside. There were a lot of people and it was nice stands and everything. But there were queues for the food. So we decided to go to a restaurant, and I was looking at the starters and they're like 11, 12 pounds. And I remember 4 or 5 years ago, you would pay 12 pounds for a really good main, and the starter would be like 5 and 7 pounds. So I'm noticing it as well in restaurants. And also, my wife is noticing when she goes out food shopping. And with that, maybe Rafi, you could talk a little bit about food prices, or if you want to call it food inflation in the PCE.
I looked at the PCE. It's not that I trust that number, particularly. But I work with the numbers that we have, and they're the ones that have the numbers, and so what am I going to do?
The Fed looks at that one too, right?
Yeah, they look at it, but I figure food is the hardest to fake, especially food at home, because like people generally eat the same stuff that they've always eaten, more or less. So the food inflation now is 11.2% annual, and it's been rising at a rate month to month above 1%, I think, since like February, which is the fastest pace of food rises any time since the 1950s that we have records going back. So I mean, when you have hyperinflation, or you have the accelerating loss of purchasing power of the currency. I mean, the first thing that you're going to buy when you get your paycheck is food, because you need it to live. So you'll see more and more purchasing power going into basic necessities, whereas the price of basic necessities, like instead of a core inflation, which takes out food and energy, we should have like the real core inflation should be, DAFCA, specifically food and energy, because those are the most important things keeping people alive. When those prices go up, people are in trouble. So who cares if the price of underwear or the price of the newest Under Armour hat or whatever jacket is going down? Like it might go down if people decide that they would rather have food than a nice jacket. But that doesn't mean that inflation is slowing down. It just means that people are getting poorer.
Yeah, and the Fed, their excuse is that it's very volatile, but it's been going up for over a year now, as you can see here. It spiked. I guess you could say, okay, that's spiked really badly here and came down, but now it's going back up again. It seems to be staying there. And the thing is, the Fed, they look at the core PCE because they don't care about food and energy, because they live in a different world. That's the way it looks like. So let's see if we got we got another question here. Black pill on steroids, RPOS. Thank you for your super chat. What are viewpoints of Max Kaiser and Michael Saylor saying sell all your gold to buy Bitcoin? Do you think they are shills? Do you want to touch upon that, Rafi?
Are they still saying that? I haven't been listening.
Well, they were saying that about a year and a half ago or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michael Saylor was just a charlatan. I mean, he's just at this point, I just have to say he's a bad person. Max Kaiser, I wouldn't call him bad. He just got caught up with something I don't think he understands. The Max Kaiser, I've listened to him, and he really does understand gold, and he has an understanding of money. I don't think Michael Saylor does. So Max Kaiser, I think, is just an unfortunate casualty in the Bitcoin bubble. Bubbles can be very, very seductive for people for any reason. I mean, who knows how much money was Max Kaiser was offered to do whatever he did, and he just got caught up in it. That happens to a lot of people, even good people. And I'm not going to call Max Kaiser a bad person. Michael Saylor, I don't know. He's
Michael Saylor, I thought it was really, I think it was last year, he was advising people to sell everything, mortgage their homes. I mean, it was really irresponsible. Max Kaiser, like you said, is very tempting, because when I started my channel, I was still covering cryptos and Bitcoin. And I post a lot of my videos on blockchain-based platforms. I still use cryptos a bit, and I've benefited from it. I haven't really bought cryptos to make money. It's been more like income. And there were guys as well in 2017 when Bitcoin and all the cryptos are going to the moon, so to speak. They abandoned silver, for example. I remember there was a guy, I forgot his Hoffman. He was like way into silver and he abandoned silver. Max Kaiser as well. I agree with you. He's done a really good video, and this is even before YouTube, with James Turk of Gold Money, talking about fiat money inflation in France. He was trying to get people to buy silver to crash JP Morgan. But like you said, even good people get swept in their bubbles. So I hope that helps. That yeah, our answers help your question there. Let's see. Echo. A lot of people converted to cryptos when they shot up in the COVID time and gold was not rising. Yeah, I mean, I could have been a victim, but the thing is, I've studied history so much, and I know that gold and silver, they've survived thousands of years of crisis, wars, empires have fallen, and gold and silver have held. And I'm not having a go at cryptocurrencies, but they don't have the track record. And I think it's going to be important to maybe have a little bit if you must. But I would say the safety is in precious metals.
Well, so I can add a little bit of maybe a spiritual dimension to this. That cryptocurrencies, they're really they are entirely an invention of man. And if they let's, in a world where they do succeed, let's assume they succeed and they become money. I don't think this is not logically possible in my view, but let's imagine a world where it happens. And what kind of world is that? That's a world where man has conquered the monetary world, and man created something, and it's like it's better than gold and silver and better than God created metals. Then it's the same sort of mental symptom and illness of forced medical procedures. And all this other stuff where, oh, man can control this or man can control that because he knows everything and he knows the causes, and if he just does this, then everything will be fine. And that's the core of hubris. That's really the core of human idolatry, of worshiping their own creations. I'm not saying man can't create. Man, of course, can create, but there's a flaw in everything that he creates. And you have to realize that and the danger of it. And complete reliance on it is exactly the problem that all of human society is mired in right now. And Bitcoin is just another reflection of it.
I agree with you. And money itself, even if we are under a sound money system, gold and silver, even then, nothing is perfect. And I don't think we will all ever have utopia. But I think under a sound money system, it's more difficult for the powers that be to abuse their power. Like you said today, I think about the resets, that if we don't want to be slaves, we need like a hyperinflation, and that's what I think a hyperinflation will do. It will be pretty difficult times, but it's the only hope we have. But can you tell us why you don't think they will be able to, the powers that be, to reset the system? Yeah, I thought that was quite interesting what you talked about, the fact that it's almost impossible for them to get all the gold in the world and create one central bank to control us.
Yeah, well, I mean, who would agree to that? I mean, you have the at least the gold that we know is controlled by the United States, I think 8,000 tons, and then you have Germany, France, and Italy, and a little bit of the UK. And like, what are they gonna like come together and make some kind of like quattrarch or something, like four powered thing? How would they even get together? I mean, these are all people with humongous egos, and they would have to all like agree on some kind of mega currency. And China's not gonna participate in this. Russia's not gonna participate in this. And Switzerland probably wouldn't because they're still independent. Just that, it seemed impossible. And the only reason that FDR was able to do this, was able to steal the entire gold supply, is because people loved him. He was trying to get the country out of a depression, And Americans still trusted their government, and as left wing as FDR was, he still understood, like, basic reality, like, there are men and women in the world, and that's a real thing.
Yeah. What I think happened as well, under Hoover, things got so bad and he didn't like intervene, so to speak, that
Yeah.
it's almost like they did it on purpose so that they could have someone come in to save the day and to start like the New Deal, which was a huge move, I think, to socialism in the US.
Yes.
So yeah. Um, let's see if there's any questions here. Uh, oh yeah, Champagne Light. Rafi, please confirm and comment. Israel banned use of cash for purchase over 6,000 new Israeli shekel, and with effect from 1st of August. Then how will you purchase gold and silver? Did you hear about that?
Yes, I've heard about that. It's true. I don't know how practical it is. But look, eventually all governments are going to ban all cash. But again, like, just take a step back for a second. Then if you think about this, like, somebody's doing construction on your house, and what are you going to do? You're going to pay him. You're either going to pay him cash, or you're going to pay him in a bank transfer that's going to be tracked. He's going to give you a receipt, and then he's going to charge you value-added tax if you have a VAT in your country, and that's 17% more. So either he's going to try to pass that along on you, and if you say no, then he's going to go out of business, and then the marginal architects or construction workers, the people that get paid in cash for usually, they're going to go out of business, and then the supply of them is going to be lower, and then the prices of these things are going to go higher. So if you ban cash, the prices of everything is going to go higher because everything is more tracked, and then you pay more taxes. If you pay more taxes, more is being stolen, people get poorer. So it's just going to increase it's going to increase prices. It's going to speed up the process of hyperinflation. Everything they do is going to speed it up at this point. So yeah, it's scary. It's terrifying, but we have to realize that this is the direction that the world is going to go in, but rather than stand in the way, let them go and try to stay out of their way, and let them go through the process of hyperinflation, and this is only going to speed it up. Let it happen, and pray and be a good person, and just hope you can get through this.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I never thought of that. Like, it will put a lot of small businesses out of business, because a lot of small businesses, they only survive because they can work on a cash basis, because they probably declare taxes, but not all of it. And that's mainly because of all the rules and regulations.
So no, but think of it even in terms of something even simpler, like your 13, 14-year-old kid, babysits every weekend, gets paid cash, and now that's illegal, and he's supposed to pay taxes, and like, how's he what? Like, how this is gonna destroy like basic learning of teenagers on how to do things.
Yeah.
This is impossible.
And it's also gonna hurt like parents who depend on like the young teenagers to do the babysitting as well.
Yeah.
So we got Black Pill again. Thank you for your super chat. He says, will the Rothschilds flee to Epstein Island if their great reset fails? Do you think we will enter a two-tiered society? I think the Rothschilds probably have a better place to go than Epstein Island. As for a two-tiered society, I think we're already in a two-tiered society, especially, and you can see that when you travel, even though people haven't been traveling as much in the last few years, but they're back again traveling. I went to Italy a few weeks ago with my wife, and yeah, the airports are really not very pleasant places to be anymore. But if you're a billionaire, or if you have access to a private jet, things are really great. So I think we're already in the kind of two-tier society. What do you think, Rafi?
Yeah, well, humanity has always been in a two-tier society, except for maybe, 100, 250 years, maybe 200 years since from 1776 to, let's say, I don't know, 1960, 1970. I don't know, something like that. But when was there ever like a formidable middle class in the world? During those years, around there, when liberty was at its maximum. All other times in human history has been, exploitation and slavery, and that's what we're going back into now. But hopefully, we'll go back to our roots, and have a renaissance of real liberty, and I see that happening. Hopefully 1776 and in the Magna Carta, or all the little pockets of liberty that humanity was able to, like, wake up from its nightmare, in some kind of like, oh wow, maybe this is a good idea. Hopefully those will all concentrate into some kind of renaissance of real liberty. And I mean, that's how I view the world, because if I was a pessimist, I wouldn't survive. I'd just crawl into a hole and be depressed.
Yeah, I agree. And I was thinking the other day as well, maybe we've been too naive to think that we're free, that democracy is, a good thing. But maybe this is a good thing, the fact that they're really ratcheting up, their oppression and tyranny, because then people will realize maybe we should really go for freedom. So maybe it's a positive. We've got Grandpa Barney. Thank you for your super chat. New to your channel, both your thoughts on the AMC and GME squeezes. Thank you, gentlemen. I guess that's GameStop and AMC. That was what, a year and a half ago. I'll let you talk about that if you want, Rafi.
Oh, those are interesting. I think they're flashes in a pan. When those happened, what I was saying was, like, it's nice that internet groups are trying to gang up on shorters, or what was it?
Hedge funds, big hedge funds.
Yeah, they're trying to gang up on hedge funds, and it's nice to see that they're fighting back. But it's the wrong target, because GameStop and all these other stocks, they can issue more. They could, in principle, just issue more stock and break the short squeeze, and that would be it. But if you do it with actual money, with gold and silver, if we were able to get all the groups together, and that's what Silver Squeeze was about. Yeah. It was stop doing this GameStop stuff and squeeze the actual money.
Yeah,
because that's the source of their power. Because you can't issue more silver. You can issue more paper silver, but if you buy the actual stuff, that itself, that is decentral. Every time somebody buys silver or gold and puts it in his basement or in his private vault somewhere, that is decentralizing the money supply, and that increases liberty. Just the fact that you're spreading it out, and not letting the central banks have it. Is GameStop doing that? No, because it's a zero-sum game. You'll win money, but then you'll lose it, and then you'll win it again, and then you'll lose it.
I agree with that. And I remember before GameStop got really big, like it was brewing, one of my viewers contacted me about it, and I hadn't heard of it. And I thought to myself, why don't we do this with silver and gold? And I've been telling my viewers since I started this channel in 2015, 2016, that you need to get physical out of the system. That's the only way you're going to defeat the bankers. And I think the silver squeeze movement, yeah, it started February last year. It's been frustrating in terms of the price of silver, but I think there's a lot more people now awake to the power of silver as money. And I think eventually there will be a huge silver squeeze and also a gold squeeze. And hopefully the bankers will have a lot less power, and people, maybe we need more time for more people to wake up. Because if we had had the silver squeeze last year, no one would have, it wouldn't have been really organic. So I still have, like you, Rafi, I have a lot of hope. And if I didn't, I would just give up on everything. Ryan Morosi, thank you for your super chat. How will the people that are currently in charge not remain in charge in the reset? Isn't it their reset created by them? I'll let you answer that, Rafi.
Well, when we say they, it's really a very, very small group of people. Most of the people that are in charge, that are harassing us, are not they. They're just bureaucrats that are, getting their paycheck, and they have no loyalty to anyone except who pays them. So once the hyperinflation hits, and the real they won't be able to pay the thug they that are annoying us, and they'll have to, throw down their batons and guns and whatever they have, and join the proletariat. I don't want to use the word proletariat, or the peasants. What do you want to call us? The third estate? I don't know.
The plebs.
The plebs. Yeah. So at least, they're not going to be in charge. They have the power of the printing press, but that power is going to go away. And when it does, the people who will be in charge will be the ones who stacked real money, and hopefully that is us. And we know what to do. We don't believe in power; we believe in liberty. And those people. That's why I say not only for decentralizing the money supply, but I want as much real money in the hands of the people that believe in liberty now, because we're really, this is how we save the world from humanity, from itself.
Yeah. I13, thank you for your super chat. I'm not sure what that currency is, but thank you. And we've got another question here. Thank you, BPOW, for your super chat. Gold super price prediction by end of 2022. What currency? I guess he means dollar. Do you want to take I don't like predicting things like that, but you might have a.
I don't know. I would say over 2,000, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's at some point it's going to go vertical, and when it does, you're going to see it quickly rise to the 100% reserve ratio, which is somewhere around 40 to 50,000 now. Where it will be by the time it happens, I don't know. But the final stages of when gold really starts going crazy, and which means the dollar is really, really dying. I think it's going to last, weeks, at just a few weeks. Once people catch on, it's going to end very quickly.
Echo, please ask Rafi if alongside cash he holds both gold and silver, or if gold does not appeal to him.
Well, I own both gold and silver.
All right.
Yeah.
Pablo Pina, he asked about the COMEX. I guess you guys have given up on getting the physical from there.
Yeah, for now, I'm giving up on it.
Yeah.
I got the warrant, but I couldn't load out. And in order to load out, I'd need like millions of dollars that I don't actually have. So.
Yeah. Lord Humongous, he just printed his match is 371.25. That, I guess that's the grains of silver in the dollar, 371.25. But they changed that. The original coinage act of, I think it was 1792. It was a little higher or lower. So they did adjust it over the years, but not that much. That's, I guess, the true definition of a dollar there, silver dollar. Let's see. Any questions here? Oh yeah, I wanted to, before we get to any questions, maybe you could go over where you think the crisis could come from. I guess you you're looking at China today and Europe. Could you go over a little bit what's going on in China?
Well, from what I hear, I don't have any special link to China or someone on the ground who's telling me things,
Yeah,
but there's more and more rumors of an impending real estate crash, and you can never trust anything that comes out of China there, but it's a culture of lying. So you can assume that everything they say is a lie, but what you can look at is the actual prices of real estate equities and stocks and actual prices. I mean, the price of the Chinese real estate ETF is the price. I mean, it's not a lie. You could buy it for that. So, I mean, if you're looking at, if you see this chart here, then you'll see that Chinese real estate is doing very badly. And the culture there is, instead of saving cash or saving, the savings is in the form of real estate. So everyone's in the same boat over there. And if you've ever read, the great Mao's Great Famine and Frank Decoter's work, then you'll understand the Chinese culture is like they're lemmings. They all run to the same place all at the same time, and they act like one giant unit. So they're very obedient. And now they've all bought houses because that's what you're supposed to do.
and
So
they're
they're,
losing out big time, it looks like.
yeah,
And they're also
yeah,
like they boycotted paying mortgages as well.
yeah, that's happening. We don't know to what extent,
Yeah,
but there's some censorship
yeah,
efforts going on. So yeah, there's something going on in China,
yeah,
and in Europe, Germany is being choked by Russia, but just cutting off the gas.
yeah.
So something's got to give. We've been saying that for years, but it remains true. When exactly it does, hopefully as soon as possible.
So this is here the balance sheet of the People's Bank of China, and they increased it quite a bit during the 08 crisis, but now it's stayed pretty steady. And you're speculating whether they'll have to reactivate that. It would certainly help uh, the world right now if they were to start QE on a massive scale.
Yeah, I think what's been happening in China is that they started out with a higher reserve requirements. So in order to expand their money supply, they've just been dropping the reserve requirements. So that means they didn't have to tinker with the balance sheet central bank side of it yet as much. But that's going to change, and we'll see when it does.
Yeah, this
And
is an interesting chart here that I've been looked at as well. And we're pretty much near where something could happen. This is the Fed funds rate. And like since the mid 80s, we've been making lower lows and lower highs. And every time the Fed tightens, as you can see here, there's like a recession or a crisis. And yeah, we're right on that line. And I think they might tighten one more time, but they're going to have to come back down very soon, I think.
at the point where they admit it and they say we're going back to zero, when they cut, they will go straight back to zero. There won't be small cuts. It'll be straight down, just like it was last time.
Do you think
And when
they'll think about going to negative?
Maybe could
Because
happen, but
yeah, it could happen.
whatever they do, it's going to cause the final monetary explosion. It's going to cause gold and silver prices to go ballistic.
Yeah. We've got a super chat here from Chris Conman. Thank you, Chris. Should I be concerned with Newmont's earnings miss last week? Due to inflation, it costs more to get gold out of the ground, and gold stocks recent slide has also exacerbated it. I'm down 35,000 on 1,000 shares. Do you think it will turn around? I'll let you
Yes.
answer that first, Rafi, and why.
Yes, absolutely, it will turn around. Numa, when the price of gold rises again, it will turn around. It always has. It's not going to change this time. And look, remember when stocks are underperforming like this, this is when that's what buy low is. It's buy when everyone is terrified and down and they don't want to do it. I mean, this is how money is made. This is how like stable money is made, because when you chase a bubble and you keep chasing it higher, and then you're up so many percentage, you're up 100%, 200%, you kind of lose perspective of reality, and you never get out of it because you see how rich you're getting, so you never sell. But like when you buy low, that's a much, and then it goes up. That's a much more stable form of actually making money. And what does Newmont do? Newmont can give you dividends even in gold certificates if it comes to that. They are the biggest gold mining company. So this is the time to buy it.
Yeah, and I think as well, as you've said, when the dollar goes and all the fiat currencies go, the only money left will be gold and silver. And who's the biggest producer of money? Well, Newmont, because they're the biggest gold miner. And just to let you guys know, Rafi, I got the day Newmont dropped to like 13%, I got like an email from the end game investor or Rafi. And if I hadn't seen that, I wouldn't have bought some more. So I bought some on that dip. It hasn't really rebounded yet, but like you said, the dividend yield is 5%. And I think Newmont is still making a profit, even with gold where it is. And maybe its cost has gone up a little bit, but I expect it to do well too. The other thing you could look at, Chris, if you're concerned about mining costs, is that look at gold royalty companies, because they don't get affected by the costs.
Yeah, Franco-Nevada would be a decent choice at these prices also, I think.
Yeah, I did a sponsored video a few weeks ago about a smaller gold royalty company called Gold Royalty. That could be interesting as well. It's not financial advice, but it's something to think about. Their ticker is GROY. So look. Echo, on the idea of the Fed pivoting and returning to QE, isn't there a point where the USA cannot raise enough taxes to pay the debt and go bankrupt? Any view? Yeah, I guess when the money becomes worthless, yeah, the tax will become worthless.
Yeah, when the money becomes worthless, they'll pay all the debt back with worthless money.
Yeah.
And they'll pay all their debts back, but they won't have any money.
We got still 9 minutes left. Let's see if there's anything else that you covered here. That's food inflation. Well, yeah, let's look a little bit of at silver. What's going on? Because I don't follow too much the COMEX and the COT reports, but I've noticed that the bullion banks have gone net long. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did notice that in silver. Yeah, and that's not unprecedented in silver. Silver is not so driven by the paper markets as gold is. It's a very thin market. There isn't that much open interest compared to gold. But with silver, you have the situation that there's only so much registered silver in the vaults. I think right now there's I think 11,000 contracts worth, or 55 million ounces, and that has been falling very sharply since silver squeeze. I think it's been falling like 65% since the peak. So that could run dry any delivery month, any front delivery month. It could go to zero.
Yeah.
And that would cause some kind of big thing, like maybe something like we saw in nickel in the LME, something like that. And if what we saw in nickel happens to one of the monetary metals, then yeah, the money substitutes are the ones, meaning the currencies. I prefer to call them money substitutes, just clearer.
Yeah.
Those are the things that are going to be affected the most. Just like in a nickel squeeze, who would be affected the most? The nickel users and the nickel producers. But in a gold, if gold goes parabolic, then what would be affected most are the currencies.
Belly Dance Rabia says, pray, repent, love each other. I agree. Yeah, we're talking a lot about money and economics, but that's also important. Thank you, Belly Dance Rabia. Thomas Moran, did you see that Evergrande have been ordered to pay a guarantor $1.1 billion for failing to honor its debt obligations? No, I haven't, Thomas. Have you seen that, Rafi?
No, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, yeah, but their stock is almost worthless. It's so yeah, they're in trouble. That's for sure.
Where are they going to get $1.1 billion from? Selling their own real estate, their office buildings? Do they own them? I don't know. Where are they going to get the money?
Especially with what the situation there now, the real estate market. And the other thing as well about China, they don't have like a, because most people think the government is does everything there for the people, but it doesn't, because they actually don't have a welfare state like we do in the West. So a lot of people have put their savings into real estate, which is a really bad thing. And that's what makes me think that this crisis vis-a-vis Taiwan could be just like both countries seeing that their systems are collapsing and they want a big distraction. Who knows?
Yeah, we know there's a whole bunch of ghost cities in China of buildings that are just empty, and buildings that are very poorly built just for the sake of building buildings.
Yeah.
So we know this has been happening for many years.
Yeah.
So this, eventually it's all going to come to nothing.
I was talking a few days ago with a guy that used to be my client. He worked for Citibank in Frankfurt. He doesn't work there anymore. He's German, and we chatted for 2 hours. And he was telling me that his son now works in Frankfurt, and there's all these high rises being built, and they're all like half empty. And I said, well, the reason they're doing that is because credit is so cheap. And he said, yes. And he actually said it's a little bit like China. They're building all these buildings in Frankfurt. So that's weird, isn't it? That the Germans are doing the same. Tristan Jones, what do you think is the one thing America, along with the West, can do to ensure the current monetary world order continues? Or do you think it's too late? I think it's too late, and I hope they can't continue it because it's a really bad system. What do you think, Rafi?
No, there's no continuing it. I mean, every sign is pointing to, to decay. Whether it's the interactions between people. I mean, look what these lockdowns did, and now like even me talking to you on Zoom is a pale reflection of real human interaction. But people, myself included, are more prone to staying away from social interaction. We're seeing people doubting that there are men and women anymore. That kind of insanity. Everything seems to be coming apart. The fabric of society, you can see it's being ripped, and families have been ripped apart. And there's a brain dead guy in charge of the most powerful country in the world, and all these crazy things are happening. I don't see it recovering. This is at the end of the Roman Empire, at least the Western Roman Empire, all the emperors were insane, and that seems to be what's happening now.
Yeah, and the other symptom of this end of empire or currency collapse is what's happening in the Netherlands. The Dutch, I thought the Dutch people were normally very tolerant, peaceful, reasonable. But to see what's happening there with the farmers, this shows that they've really pissed off the wrong people. And yeah, it's another symptom there. Dmitry Shmerkovich, thank you for your super chat. Rafi, what is your outlook for the Israeli economy?
Yeah, that's a hard question, because I have different dimensions that I look at. I look at Israel through very, very different lenses. That I think there's going to be a collapse here, and I'm here not because I'm trying to avoid an economic collapse. I don't think God's going to protect Israel from an economic collapse. But how I see it, America is, let's say, like 250 years old, but they're based on the cultural assumption that you can be different and it's okay, and it's a melting pot and we all assimilate together. But it's a very new notion. And when the country's really under stress, are they gonna kumbaya everything or not? And Europe, I don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, I hope things are okay there, but when I see the base of society collapsing, with modern values all falling to nothing, then what my instinct is to go back as far as I can to foundations that I believe in very strongly, which are God and my people, which are older than almost any other people in the world. And we have a system of values that have been passed down for not 250 years, not even 1,000 years, not 2,000 years, but about 3,300 years. So I'm going to rely on that. And when things get really bad here, I hope we go back to that, whatever that means to people here. And I hope that saves us. That's all I can say. That's why I'm here.
Rafi, is it true that Israel has already made gold and silver legal tender?
No.
Okay, good. I heard Russia's cutting more European countries off of gas. Yeah, they cut Latvia a couple of days ago. I've got another super chat here. Thank you. Black Pill on steroids. He says, keep the stream going. I think it's getting late for Rafi. It's, what is it, 11 o'clock in Israel?
Midnight.
Midnight. So Rafi needs to go to bed. So yeah, right. Yeah, so we're right. Yeah, we're right at the end. I'm sorry, Black Pill, but Rafi has to get some sleep. Thank you, Rafi, for being on. And yeah, people really appreciate your wisdom and your knowledge. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me, Mary. I appreciate it every time.
And if you want me to come on your channel, feel free to ask.
Oh yeah, sure. We'll do that soon.
All right. And everyone else out there, thank you for being on the live stream, for the super chats, for the questions, and just for having an interest. Take care, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye. Okay, let's. Okay, all right.